Would love to know that. And if you have a particular question, again, this is a live focused on how to style trays. And I'm going to be dropping lots of design composition tips and hints to help you do many other powerful design treatments in your home, from second masterclass, which is going to be focused on pillows. I call it the Pillow Palooza. So be sure to mark your calendar so you join for that. So if you just join me, make sure you drop your state in the chat. Hopefully you can access the live chat feature. Just do a shout out of your state. And if you have a question, make sure you drop it in the live chat. That would be super cool. And as we're just waiting, I said I'd give folks a couple of minutes before I jump into the meat and potatoes. Make sure that you share this video link. You can just share it to your social media sites, something like join me. I'm digging the DIY custom on a budget masterclass. Make sure you hit the like button here on this video, because once we get into the meat and potatoes, I know folks are going to get busy with all snap, ooh, oh wow, and ooh wee. And what else? Oh, if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure that you subscribe. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started. I have such an exciting masterclass plan for you all this evening. And so if you have never laid eyes on me, you're like, who that is right there? Who is that woman? I am Denise Joy. I am the lead designer and creator of the Furaha method. That always makes me want to dance, Furaha. And through my process, I use a holistic, creative approach to give each client what I call a joyful, custom on a budget space every time. And it's a meaningful mashup of physical beauty, functionality, and increases their overall wellness. And by the way, Furaha means joyful in Swahili. So tonight we are going to be jumping into how to style a tray. Before we get into that meat and potatoes, I do want to give you a little bit more, just a little snippet about me and why I created this challenge. Again, this is a 2021 Room Makeover challenge. And I have this fundamental principle that I call custom on a budget, right? A budget can be at any price, but I think that everybody deserves something special, unique, custom in their space. And I also believe that everybody deserves to have a space that reflects exactly what they desire. So I'm doing 3 masterclasses. Tonight is the first one. If you're watching this video as a recording, you get the benefit of being able to take notes and watch all of the demos and everything at your own pace. Wednesday is the second live. That one will focus on pillows from patterns, matching patterns and textures, and how to put pillows on sofas and benches and on beds and just everything pillows. The third one, you want to really stick around and watch the third masterclass on Friday, the 19th. Again, you could watch it as the streaming video, but on Friday, I'll be teaching on how to use fabric as art and teaching about the hack of using a shower curtain, a canvas frame, and making a bold, badass piece of artwork out of it. So you definitely want to see that. A little bit about me. Some of you might know me from when I did my work with Lisa Nichols and Steve Harvey, or maybe you know me from when I ran my company, the Children's Theater Workshop here in the DMV area, or maybe you're a former student of mine at Howard University, or maybe you stumbled upon my page and thought, man, she's got some pretty dope stuff on her DIY channel, or you're a client of mine. Whatever capacity that you have come into contact with me or across me, I am so excited and delighted that you are here. You've chosen to use your time so that I can teach you some of my passion, a little bit about what I do so you can enhance your space. When I was growing up, we didn't have a ton of money. In fact, we moved a lot. Actually, I lived in 13 different homes from the time I was born till I was 17. And I used to jokingly say when I was a speaker and traveled all over the country, I would say we weren't in the army. But it was the truth of the matter was, we just had hard times. And so I was constantly moving out of the space and putting a space back together. And, I learned quickly to set up a room and to make my corner, because I had a sister and we shared a room. I learned quickly to make my corner of the room. Hey, what's up? Welcome, welcome, welcome. I learned quickly. What's up, Texas? Hey now. I learned quickly to make my corner of the room special, because I also realized, after like the fifth time we moved, I realized we might not be living here for that long. So I would always just take whatever I could, and I loved fabric. So I would even hang a sheet and really make something funky out of it. So I've had this obsession with design and this love affair with how to make a space have a certain vibe and energy since I was really a young kid. And then I went on to study visual art in high school. I spent half my day in high school immersed in the world of visual art, where I get a lot of my design sensibility from. And then actually, when I first went to college, I was going to study visual art, really fine art, drawing and sculpture and everything. But somehow I ended up in the theater department, and I got really good at what they call set design. So had this bug for a while. Before we jump into the meat and potatoes of why do I say meat and potatoes all the time? I don't even know. But before we jump into the good stuff, the good stuff, I want to tell you the 5 principles of the Faraha method. And principle number 1 is you want to be able to experience joy in your space. You want to be able to create a space that does 2 things. You either don't ever want to leave, or you cannot wait to get back to it. That's what I call experiencing joy in your space. Principle 2, don't settle. You know how people go, oh, that's good enough. Maybe you've even done that before. I know I've done that before. When in my heart of hearts, I know good and well it's not good enough, but I'm willing to live with it. Don't cheat yourself. Don't settle. If you know that there's a corner of your room or an entire room that you're like, this is tired in not a good way, right? And you know you need to change it, go ahead and do it. Number 3, practice reciprocity. Design is about reciprocity. What you put into something, you get back. Okay. So you want to make sure that you're creating a reciprocal exchange between you and your home, or you and your room, or you and your space. I even speak good words into my space. I know Anisha, is that Anisha? Yes, that's Anisha. I know you know something about that. Speaking good words, right? I get up, believe it or not, and I say, good morning, beautiful home. Good morning, because I understand the principle of reciprocity. I'm sowing goodness into my environment because, again, design is about a vibe and about energy, and I want to get that back. Principle 4 of the Faraha method. These are the foundation principles of how I design. Feed your soul. Again, rooms have an energy. Let's say they even have a spirit. They got a vibe going too, and they speak to us at a soul level. Now, if you hire me, my job is to create a space that feeds your soul. But if you're going to do it yourself, I want you to understand and embody the principles where you're going to create something that feeds your soul. Because what does that do? Practice reciprocity and give you a chance to experience joy. And then the last principle 5 of the Faraha method, honor who you are. Now, that could manifest many different ways. Sometimes people that manifest through their design style, right? There's a ton of them, right? Glam, traditional, modern, boho, Afro boho, what else? Hollywood Regency, eclectic. I mean, so honoring who you are through either a singular design style, or maybe you have a dual or a combo, right? Modern farmhouse, which is really a rage right now. But ultimately, honor who you are. Believe it or not, I have had clients say to me after I have done a space in their home, you kind of helped me discover who I am. But what I like to say is, I just gave you a pathway to stand more powerfully in who you are. So tonight, y'all, we are talking about trays. In fact, styling trays. And I thought it was fun to start with this sweet little tray. I'm going to take these items off. And I'm also doing this so you can see just kind of how blah. I mean, the tray is this porcelain marble, and it's kind of funky, right? We could funkify it and funk it up. But without the pieces on it, and it's a small little tray, it kind of doesn't have as much personality. So we have this silver topped with this sweet little antlers on it, little texture and dimension here and sculpture put on there. And then this word message, relax. I think I need to turn it around so you guys can read it the right way, but relax. So this sweet little tray, you could put this tray in a bathroom. You could put this in a guest room, like if you have a guest coming over who's going to stay a while post-COVID, right? Or if everybody's vaccinated in this pandemic we're in, you could put this on your bedside table. If you have enough space in, maybe you have a dressing area or a dressing room, maybe you have the luxury, you could put something sweet like this anywhere that you wanted to. So now let me swap this out and swap this beauty over into our space here. Let's get there we go. Perfect. Now, no matter what your decor style is, you're going to use everything I teach you tonight. You're going to use it in every area of your home. Whenever you're making a design decision, you are now going to look at things just a tad bit differently, because you're going to say, oh, wait, I remember Denise said blah, blah, blah during that masterclass, and it's going to stick with you. Ultimately, I want you to continue to realize all design is about evoking a feeling. And so whatever feeling you want to feel or you want your guests to feel in your space, that's the foundation. That's what's sort of driving all the choices and all the decisions that are made, from the largest to the smallest. So why use trays as part of your decor? Well, I'm glad you asked me that, okay? Because trays are really an inexpensive way for you to add personality and texture and variety, and that all important. Everybody said, "Oh, I need more accent colors," right? So you can add accent colors. Plus, you just get to have fun. Hey, what's up, Marilyn? I see you in the house. It's so good for you to see you here. And thanks so much for joining me. So I'm just going over why do you use trays? And then where do you use them? Where do you use trays? I'm asking that question. Type in the chat. Where do you use trays? If you don't use trays, say, well, I don't use trays yet, right? Because that's why you're here. But where are you? If you're using them, type in the chat. Let me know where you are using them. And if you don't, just be honest, right? When we're honest, we go farther faster. So some places you can use trays are as a centerpiece on a dining table, as a coffee table. Believe it or not, coffee table is probably the most common location where folks are going to use a tray. But you can also use it on a bedside table. I mentioned a guest bedroom, bathroom counter, console or sofa table. In your entryway, if you have an entryway table, that's a popular spot to use a tray and have some baskets on there to like drop your keys and maybe your cell phone and stuff like that. You could also think on the top of a bench. I love to do this. You have an ottoman or some type of a covered bench, fabric or leather or something, and put a tray on there. Now you actually have a hard surface. So if someone is close enough, they could sit a cup or a glass or something down there, or even maybe a small plate. What do you put on trays? That's another popular question. Really, almost anything. I don't know that there's anything that you can't put on a tray. What matters is how you combine those design principles so that you make your tray look as stunning as this one here. That's going to be the first example that I use. Now, I also want to mention that you have what we call completely design or decor center trays, but you can also have a utilitarian tray. Let's say in the bathroom, you wanted it to have that sort of a decor element, but it also holds things like you have little baskets or something on there that hold cotton balls, cotton swabs, or really anything that you're going to use. Then that tray has twofold. It's utilitarian and it is decor. The goal for styling is that you want to create a sense of harmony or unity. So when you look at this first example here, there are a couple of things happening in this tray, and I just want you to look at it. Okay. Thank you so more. Thank you so more. I'm trying to say so much. And I looked at Marilyn. Thank you so much. So when you look at this tray example, and I hope you can see this clear enough, there are a couple of things. Let me move this white so you can really. There are a couple of things happening in this sweet tray demo here that are part of what we call composition or design methods. So I'm going to take you through them. Now, if you want to, you can take notes. If you don't want to, You don't have to, because this is a live video, but it's also going to become a video on my YouTube channel, and you can just come back and say, what was that Denise said? Fast forward halfway through and go, bam, I got it. Let me run with this. But let's go through these design composition. And remember, these are not just applicable to styling trays. These design principles are for virtually everything you do in a home: selecting furniture, selecting lighting, selecting a layout, looking at functionality, all of these elements. So number one, and I've already said it a couple of times, is the vibe. Now, in true design language, we call that the mood of the room. Well, I like vibe better, right? Because this vibe is a little funkier, and I'm a little funky, right? Not like I smell funky, but you know what I mean. So anyway, so vibe. You want to determine what's the feeling, what's the vibe you want to communicate. In fact, I ask all my clients that, and sometimes they look at me like, well, I don't know. And so I got to do a little bit of digging, but usually I get to the bottom of it. And then number two, focal point. You want to determine what's going to be your focal point piece on your tray, okay? And this one has a high focal point and a low focal point. So this one is doing a couple of things. Number three is color. Start with neutrals. Neutrals need to be pretty much in any design scheme. And what are your neutrals? Your neutrals are your black, your white, your brown, and your gray. Then you want to add in 3, maybe 4 colors max. Or you could do an entirely neutral tray setup. Like this tray is all neutrals. Well, that's not true. The gold part really acts as our pop of color. I don't know if you can see how this gold is shining right here. And depending upon if this gold was a little darker, this would actually be a neutral because it would be on the brown side. But because this is a little bit more yellow, it's actually our pop of color on this tray. But every piece on here is a neutral. These little raffia balls here are black. Our clear glass, it has tones of gray in it. Our pyramid here is a black, but really more like a charcoal. The silver piece here is in the gray family. Our modern bud vase has white and black, and our silk flowers, gorgeous silk flowers. Really, the only thing that's not the neutral is the green, which is an additional pop of color, which is lovely because green and yellow have that complementary relationship. Number 4, repetition. This is the 4th composition principle that you want to pay attention to when you're doing anything. When you're, like I said, selecting a sofa and you want the sofa and how will it, because you're likely not to buy a whole matched set, of furniture, but you might. But anyway, if you're going to do separates, you want to know this. Repetition, repeats of color, repeats of pattern. Scale just means how large or small something is. So these black stripes on the bud vase, they're about medium scale. If they were thick and wider, then we would say they were large scale. Patterns is actually what creates rhythm in any room because the eye connects the dots when patterns have similarity, and it helps to move the eye around the space and gives a feeling of synchronicity for the most part in a space with multiple patterns. So you could do patterns by color. So here we have the black raffia ball, we have the black here, we have the dark charcoal. So we actually have 3 dark tones in this tray, which actually create that synchronicity. And then texture, add texture. I already showed you the little raffia ball. It's a great little textural element that's just sitting there sweetly against the smoothness of the vase and the smoothness of the glass and even the smoothness of the pyramid piece here. And then our silk flowers have their own texture. We just have a few more. We also look at mass. Mass just means how much weight or space does an item take up. And so the largest mass piece is this piece here. It's a nice circular vase here, and it's a thick, really thick. You can see that thick bottom piece here, which is really kind of sculptural with the dollop dot there. But that's the biggest mass piece on here. Imagine if all of the pieces were the same mass as this. You wouldn't really see any distinction on the tray, and you just think, oh, wow, that's a big old glass, right? It would just not, it wouldn't be broken up. So you want to consider mass. And then the next one is height difference. You see our tallest linear is the top of our silk flower. And then we have a mid-level, and then we have a low level. So we have 3 heights working here. I'm behind it doing like this, and you guys are, so I should be going this way. So you got low, mid, and then high. And that also helps move the eye up through the space. And depending upon where this might be sitting, it might be some nice artwork if this were in a place for that. And you take the eye straight up to then look at the artwork and take in the rest of the room. So that's just another of the design composition principles. And then the last ones are disruption. I really kind of dig disruption, because disruption is when you do something unexpected, right? You think, I've seen that before, or oh, I know that look, or I saw that. But if you put this together and you do something that's unexpected, I don't have anything red here, but that's what comes to mind for me. If I had something bright red and it could fit here, I would plop that right there, because inside of this mostly neutral tray, that red would be a disruption factor, and it would really disrupt the eye. And then balance. So you guys have heard of symmetrical and asymmetrical. And so symmetrical things are typically seen as more formal in design, and asymmetrical is typically seen as sort of more contemporary and a little more modern. So if you've ever looked at like, I hope that didn't hurt y'all's ears. I touched my mic. Excuse me. If you've ever looked at some of those magazines like House Beautiful or something, and you've seen those sort of French country rooms, and one sofa, two cocktail tables, and stuff, that's a symmetrical room, and it's a very traditional room. And that's, that looks not for everybody, but it certainly can be a beautiful look. The last of the composition principles, which there are 12, I'm on number 12, is contrast. So mix metals, mix textures, mix colors and patterns, but you want to do it based on color. Everything will come back to color. If you're trying to mix patterns, again, the neutralness here is the color tones all work so well together. So first, I want to talk to you guys about, before I tell you what you should do, I want to tell you about 3 things not to do. Number 1, don't use the wrong size tray. So my clients know that I always say we have to measure everything. And I know I probably sound like maybe even a pain in the butt, but you know what? I don't really care, because you must measure everything. It will save you headaches later. The last thing you want to do is hunt for hours, right? Because we're all at home, and that's what we're doing, right? Shopping online, and find the perfect tray. You love it. Oh my God, this marble is going to be exquisite, and I love the shape of it. And then you get the thing in the house, and it doesn't fit. And you say, oh, but I'm going to shove it up there. And you'll never be happy with it, because you're trying to force fit it. That's number 1. Don't get the wrong size tray. Number 2, don't overcrowd the tray. In design, there's a term we use called white space. And white space is about leaving enough blank space so that your eye can rest. So that you're not, this kind of goes against a maximalist design style, but, which is okay. But I'll kind of give you an example. If I just started adding more things up here, I don't even have room for this, but I'm going to put it up here. And it's just a whole bunch of stuff. We've lost our focal point. We've also lost the continuity of our color structure, although these are still all neutral, so it could work technically, but you get my point. The point is, don't overcrowd the tray. And so just to show you the big difference that overcrowding can make when you are designing and styling a tray. So you might have noticed, one last thing not to do. Number three, don't have everything all the same height. Let me show you an example of that. Okay, it says take that out. Let's put that there. And let's just put this here. Now, pretty much all of these items are the same exact height. There's no this is a tiny bit taller, but the mass and scale are almost equal to this and this. And so there's really nothing interesting to look at. So you don't want to have everything the same height or the same mass and scale. Let's put this back and let's look at how your mood changed when this, I'm sure it must have. When I put this setup back, didn't your mood just go, yes, I love it. Give me more. At least that's what happens to me. It's just something about a well-structured tray that lifts the spirit, right? It gives you joy. Exactly. Now, you might have noticed something about this. You might have noticed something about this. It has to do with numbers. And so it's the first thing that you want to sort of rule. Again, well, all rules can be broken, but this one I think you want to adhere to as much as possible. And that is you want to create in odd numbers, threes or fives. Threes or fives. Now, this small little tray example was just two because this was a tiny little tray, right? And so this was a linear versus a vertical versus a horizontal. I almost got those backwards. Sort of a setup here. Sweet little tray. So this was just limited to two pieces. Although you could, if you had some small enough items, you could do a three trio here. But you want to build your trays with the principle of threes or fives, odd numbered items. And again, you want to bring items together through a color story where there's a color relationship. But because black, white, gray, and brown are neutrals, neutrals means you can put anything with those colors because they're neutrals. So sometimes I find people kind of stressing out about, oh, I have to match it. It's black. Well, technically, no, you don't. I forgot I had this pen in my head, y'all. That's so funny. When I'm teaching, when we used to be in person, quick little fun story. I was known for always losing my pen and not really realizing I'd have two or three of them stuck in my head. And one year my students did a whole, what do you call that when they spoof you? Whatever that word is, they did it. It was hilarious. Somebody came out with like 15 pins in their hair. It was so funny. So now here's some other things that you want to do. So there are 5 tips that I want you to follow. Create your trays using odd numbers. And I'm going to do a couple of demos. All right. I'm going to do a couple of demos and I'm going to do like I said, hop on the love seat so I can give some real-time feedback to someone. Second thing, you want to stick to a complementary, cohesive color scheme, complementing the room you're in. Now, if you have an eclectic design style, you might have a multitude of colors in your space. So you say, well, Denise, in that case, what do I do? Well, what I would do is even in an eclectic style, there's still going to be the dominant color or colors within the space. Those are called primary and then secondary colors and then tertiary colors, not to get too technical, but so you want to pick either that dominant color or you might even pick your secondary color to pull into your trayscape. Number 3, 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Number 3, build on the style in the room. 3, build on the style in the room. Don't go against your style. If you're glam, do not go and put a boho design tray in your space because you just fell in love with it. You know, you wanted some, not unless you can really glam it up, right? If you just feel like, I just want a macrame piece, well, if you can fit it truthfully into your glam look, you would do that. Number 4, you want to build your height so everything isn't at the same level. I hope you can see from this sample one, just what a huge difference that makes. When I showed you the contrast between when I put things on here that were the same height, it was like, wah, wah, right? It was just blah. Then number 5, when you're designing it, stand up, look above the tray, look around the sides to make sure from every angle you have a magical, what we call story going on. Because ultimately your trays reveal a little something about you. They tell a little story moment about you. Oh, you might assume, what's this pyramid for? That's interesting. I wonder, is she a delta? Well, it just so happens that I am. So that might, again, we say trays can be a conversation starter. So in fact, this silver piece underneath the pyramid were gifted to me by one of my sorority mentors who passed away, and she passed these items on to me. So I could tell that story just as I'm telling it to you all here. Again, then these little raffia balls, make someone curious and say, oh, maybe she's from the islands or something. I love flowers, absolutely adore flowers. I love, I'm already out in the spring putting mulch down and can't wait to tend to my flowers. These happen to be silk, right? Because, flowers, real flowers are expensive, but you can get absolutely glorious, even stunning, I dare say, silk flowers nowadays to make some magic in your space. So those are 5 tips to style your tray like a boss. And I'll go over them again. Use odd numbers, 3 to 5, 3 to 5. You might say, wait, Denise, that's 4 items on this tray. Well, see, we consider this a unit. That's 1 unit because it's stacked on top of the other. So that's 1, 2, 3. 3 components on this tray. I have been talking a lot. If you have any questions, drop them in the chat for me. I promise to get to them. Even if you're watching this on the replay as the video, drop your comments in your questions in the comment section. I promise to get to your question and respond. It was so funny the other day. I have a video about how to use tulip fabric spray paint on furniture, or I had actually done a poof, and someone asked a question and I responded, and they said, I can't believe you responded. I said, well, I don't know what YouTube channels you've been going to, but I respond to my people. So I'm going to take this time now to show you guys some different trays, and then we're going to jump into our demos. So let me reorient my setup right here so you can see different things that you might not have considered to even use as a tray, okay? So what do we have here? I got a bunch of different things for you to look at. All right, here's something that you may never have considered using as a tray. This is actually a mirror that you hang on the wall. It's this pretty, lovely mother of pearl mosaic. When I saw it, I thought, oh, that lies perfectly flat. You could take something like this and you could, this could certainly go in a glam. If glam is your style, you could put something really lovely. I don't have anything that super glam, but I just wanted to point out how you can begin to think outside of the box and use other items as trays. This one even has a mirror. Again, it gives you that mirror reflection on here. You might put a singular piece, or you might put a grouping of a couple of items on here. But the point is, there are lots of things you can use as a tray. Here's another example, a second mirror. I hope that's not too loud. This one is square, again, and a little bit larger. Another example of that gorgeous mother of pearl. I see thank you so much for your question, your comment. And you could trick this out. You could put this in an eclectics, a transitional style. You could put this in a dresser, like a guest bedroom, and you're going to have guests coming over. And you could put some guest friendly, like little gifts and trinkets and things on here with set up the way in which you want to. But again, another example of how to think outside of the box of what you could actually use as a tray. Another example, wait a minute, my examples got jammed up. Hold on. Okay, here we go. Here is a copper tray. Now, this copper tray would be more of a traditional look. This has some vents on the sides. You can even see items through it. It almost has an oriental type of design. I don't know if you can, that lighting is on there. But the point is, this is more of a traditional style, but you could put this in a boho. You could put this in a transitional style. This is another item that you could use. Okay, what did you say here? Let's see. My main challenge is decluttering the existing trays that are used as catch-all. Any suggestions for having stylish yet functional tray display? Well, number one, I would suggest, first of all, thank you for your question. I love it. And number one is to decide that you're only going to, well, let me back up. decide you're not going to have any catch-alls. Yeah, that's probably a hard one for most people, to just sort of get rid of the phrase catch-all from your vocabulary. I had a client that I did a garage remodel, and that phrase was like his favorite phrase. So you really want to remove the notion of having a catch-all, because if words are magical, right? You speak power. If you say something's a catch-all, what are you going to do? It's going to catch everything. So that's the first thing, to reorient the way you're responding to your space, and say, instead, I have an area to hold keys and trying to think of what else, keys and like in my little first tray that you see on when you walk in it's only for my keys and Carmex. It's sort of like the two things that can live in that space. And every now and again I have to catch myself, oh, Denise, you put something in there that doesn't go in there, you must take that out. So really have designated spot for exactly what needs to be functional and serviceable for that space in your room. And that will create opportunity for you to create what I call have a place for everything and put everything in its place, so that there are no catch-alls. Is that helpful? Type in the chat, let me know. And if you feel like you want to hear more, drop it in there and ask me another question. I'm happy to respond. Stylish yet functional. I'm a big advocate of using baskets, but also, oh gosh, I wish I had brought my I had it down here, but I took it upstairs. I mean, you could even use something like this. I mean, this is marble, but depending upon where you want it to go, you could have, let's say you want to always put your wallet or something. This could be a spot for your wallet, and your keys could go right there. Bam. That's the only thing you said. That's the only thing that goes on that tray is my wallet and my keys. That's it. Anything that is on there is like, hey, you got to move that. You got to move that, because this is the wallet and the keys tray. We don't have any catch-alls in this house. Hear me now, okay? Let's see. You said, yes, words are magical, right? Exactly. And I've learned this the hard way. Trust me. Don't think, oh, Denise had it all together her whole life. Oh no, honey, no. Listen. As a matter of fact, a couple of weeks ago, I did a video about cleaning out my junk drawer, like clearing it out. I was absolutely shocked. I opened that drawer and I thought, totally familiar, I'm sure, to most of you. How did this drawer get like this? But I was determined. I went on Amazon and got some great bins, small bins, because the drawer isn't that deep, from IKEA. I also went on Amazon and got some mesh kind of storage units. And woo, when I say gave me new life. No kidding. I really love nothing more than something that's well organized. So it was crazy. All right, last couple of trays. You guys have probably seen something like this before. They call this a charger. You put it under a plate that, well, you can get these for like $1. This one has this really cool kind of metallic copper color, and it even has this texture. It's plastic, but it looks rich. It looks like it's a little more, expensive than it is. So you could use something like this to build a really funky, there's my word again, something totally dope in a number of spaces. You could even use this to build up something to go in your kitchen, on your kitchen counter, putting items on here, a guest room. Again, depending upon the decor of a bathroom, and if you have the space, you could make a nice tray set up on something like this. This is just an old school. We used to call these the Japanese trays. I don't know why we called them Japanese trays when I was a kid, but it's really, this could be decked out in particularly a boho style, because rattan and bamboo is huge in the boho movement, the boho design arena. And you could really trick a tray like this out. Trick it out means to, put, like, for example, boom, we put these magazines on this tray. It instantly transforms the tray. Instantly. Now let's add some height. Boom. Ha. Now we have this, and we're going with the vibe, the color, the tone here of the tray. This tone is similar to the tone of the tray. Now I just need a piece. Let's try. I haven't even planned this out in advance, so I'm just trying stuff. Let's see how this might look. It looks okay. It could work. It doesn't look totally right. because we have some height here, right? The top of the plant is the highest point. We have our midpoint, and then we have the lowest point would be these items here. So this could work. Again, I just freestyled this and put this together real quick. So just to show a quick example. And then I have one last before we move on to the demos. This is something, this is a vintage piece of glass, and it's a tray, and it has this really cool circular pattern all the way around it here. And the color is absolutely mesmerizing, right? It's this beautiful amber, and depending upon the light, it could have kind of a gold, a gold quality to it. So I'm just going to take these same magazines here and put them in the middle of this tray. And you already get a different look of this tray. We could then split the top of the magazine into halves, into twos, and I'm really just freestyling here, and build something on each half. Or we could just go in the center, and I'll just use this again. We could just take this piece in the center. And the beauty of this piece and this piece is they're both round, and we have a rectangular piece in the middle, which disrupts the round on round, that element of disruption. And this little tea light globe has these lines, and you can't see it, but they have texture, and this round tray has lines and it has texture. So we have a repeat of patterns as well in this quick little example. Now let's get to a couple of demos. So remember our design principles in that we have to, I'm going to make sure I go over them because, you know, there's so many. I make sure I wrote them down. We want to create our focal point. We want to work through color, repetition, scale. So let's start. This is a tray here. This has a lacquer insert. It's really modern and contemporary. And it has these pretty gold burnished sides. It's pretty deep, right? It's about an inch, a little bit over an inch. So you can nestle things down in there. And so I'm going to build up a look on here. A really cool trick is to use books. Now, I usually like to create some synergy or relationship between some color on the book or magazine and the tray. So this particular book has a gold, I don't know if you can really see that. And this book happens to be the complete guide to beer, how to just do beer all over the world. And so anyway, this has a gold. So you use books to build up height. So I'm going to put these books on the bottom and this book on the top, just for the example, because I want to have the gold on gold. The books should actually usually be all the same size, but again, this is just for my example. So now I'm going to take this plant and put some height up on this side to build this tray up. Another item here, we can take and do a couple of candles. Well, these won't match. You could do a trio of candles on this side, and you then have low, mid, high, just in terms of height. Now, all these colors don't go together per se, because I didn't have gold candles. I do have some brown ones. They might go a little bit better. But at any rate, really the example is to show you the height, how to work with height and how to split the tray, because this tray is a rectangle, how to split it into twos. But let's mix it up. Let's move this and put this in the center, just going this way, going the long ways. And I want the yellow to be on top because that blue was a little bit pop, pop, pop. So we're going to move this now and build a center moment on this particular tray. No, I don't want that. Yeah. I'm going to just go back to this. We could do this tray and just have built a pyramid style, right? Where the eye goes up to here. And again, I'm just using this piece, but you could use taller or floral pieces and build more height. But my point is, you don't have to only split the tray in half. You could just build you could build a trayscape just using the linear piece of this tray and put this in a couple of different locations. Okay. Oh, let me move this. All right, now I want to build out this marble tray and show you a couple of different looks with this same marble bottom. Okay. So we're going to take our magazines again, and I just want you to notice how the magazines look. You've seen them on about 4 different tray bases, and how every time what happens to when you put the paper on the particular finish of the tray. It just looks differently. And remember the color. Let's swap out color here for a moment. This top magazine has this gorgeous yellow lettering and that rusty orange and that kind of brown in the top. What happens if we swap this out? And now we put this magazine on the top. You see how dramatic that is? Let me do it for you again. This was the first one. Bam. You see that? Let me tilt it up a little bit. And then just by changing to a different colored magazine, the whole look of the tray is dramatic. So when you're looking at your magazine covers, let me find a third one. You want to take that into account when you say, oh, I'm going to put some magazines, build it into the color story and the vibe that you're after. Here's a third one. This has a little more green, and the lettering on the top is really a hot pink. But let me go back to the original magazine here. So we're going to have this, and I want you to think about, oh, what story is this, or what questions does, when I look at that, what questions does that provoke from me? We have this sweet little Peruvian vase here with some fake foliage in there. Oh, let me get my, I did a picture so I would know how to put my design back together. This is a star, and it has a star made out of raffia. And then this piece right here, going with the rule of 3s. This is a ceramic star. Maybe I would put some nuts or some candy or something sweet to eat or a treat in this little piece. And so now we have this color story going on here. Oh, I also forgot to mention on the top of this magazine, it says a global design tribute. So the word global is also becoming like a theme for this magazine. And we have the repeat of shape. We have a star and a star. This is a star shape. This is a star shape. So we've got the repeat of the shape. We've got even the repeat of the neutral of white. White marble. We have the white pieces. These have a little sheen to them as well. You can't really see it, but there's some sheen on this. This star is a raffia star, so there's a texture here. And then we have this these Peruvian shapes on here, and there's even a side of this that's more orange, which we could pull that out kind of if we had a front to this, and then you would have the orange and the orange here, and then you have the undertones of sort of the gold, which can go either in the yellow side or either on the orange side, depending upon the color. But in the chat, type for yourself, well, does this provoke a question? Like if you walked into my home or someone's home and you saw that, would you think, you know, what question might it provoke for you of this particular homeowner that you might say, hey, you know, blah, blah, blah. So again, the design is about inviting you to have a story and to provoke a question from folks who are coming into your home. All right, so let me take this down. Feel free to also drop a question anytime in the chat. Totally open, and I will get to it. Let's do another singular. Let's change the magazine here. Let's do this. No, actually this one. Okay, now I'm going to switch out and do this magazine coupled with this. And I don't know if you can see, but tonally, these flowers and the color in the top of this magazine have a good relationship. Let's see, what should the stars remind you of the holidays. Yep, it could be holiday. It could be a theme, a running theme. You know, this person says, I'm the star, I'm a star in my own home, or, you know, there's a lot of ways that we can interpret shapes. I'm sorry, y'all, if my mic is, this is a new mic, and so I'm just getting used to it. So if I've been hitting it, I do accept my apology. But shapes don't only have to be limited. Like if you see a heart doesn't only have to be limited to Valentine's, although it's fine if that's the reminder. But there are many ways that, you know, a heart can evoke. And so here we go again with this setup, and I'm going to try to turn this a little bit. And I wanted to try this so you could see. Let me hold this so I can tilt it. You can see the color in the magazine, the color of the beautiful silk flowers, how there's such a great relationship there. And we've just used the same exact tray to create a different look and to build some height. And this has a piece of mercury glass, so it is reflective. All right, we have two more short trays, and then I'm going to jump to our love seat segment. All right. Okay, let me take this tray apart. This next tray, you probably would use, well, I definitely know folks would be game to use this in what we call the boho look, but this tray could be used in a transitional look also. Transitional and eclectic can kind of be interchangeable. So I never thought to use magazines. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah, that's a game changer right there. Absolutely, both magazines and books, which I'm getting ready to use books in another way. But this tray right here has this, almost these tiles look Moroccan, right? They definitely have, and this is somewhat, it's not really heavy, but it has some weight to it. And the wood on here is carved, has some carving on it. And these gorgeous custom tiles on here look fantastic. And the coloration in the tiles are white, kind of a lime green, and a beautiful rich dark blue, and then a lighter shade of blue. And then it has that really lovely patterning in the tiles. So we already have pattern going on in the tiles, patterning going on with the carvings on the wood. So now let's build a tray. So I'm going to use the books trick. And this tray is already divided into 1, 2, 3 sections. So you already know the center point of the tray is here, the left and the right. But I'm going to put these books on a diagonal. And I'm facing the binding of the books towards you because I want those colors to be visible. Then we're going to take our trusty plant here. And this plant happens to be a live plant. You could use a silk plant or whatever version of a plant that you like. And then I'm going to add this little, what do you call these things? Diffuser, a diffuser. And then I'm going to add a finial. This is an architectural finial for some height here. And then I'm actually going to break the rule because we already have a unit of 3 here. We have the book and the plant serve as 1 unit, the diffuser and the finial serve as another unit. But I'm going to do a little unexpected and put this little elephant there. Why? Why do you think I put that little elephant there? I'm going to try to show you what's happening with the elephant so you can take your best shot. Why do you think I'm intentionally breaking the rule of 3 and making this a 4 but putting it very close to the diffuser. You see how much space there is there. Why do you think I'm at? Type in the chat or in the comments and let me know why is she going around and giving us a rule and then breaking the rule? What do you think? Give it your best shot. There's just a good wild guess here. There's no, oh my God, she's wrong. Just to give us your best wild guess on why. And so I'm just going to turn this tray so that you can see how lovely it looks from different sides. Okay. Or it's interesting. It has interest to it, right? Now, because I have the books this way, I actually put the finial on this side so that the what I call the white pages side of the book is less visible. Anybody took a wild guess? Okay, we got the elephant is added. Come on. I wish I had a clapper down here. When I'm teaching my students, I always have a clapper. And when they drop something dope, so I'm clapping for you. Whoop, 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 whoop. Exactly. Because you went back to that composition principle of repeating pattern, and the Moroccan or otherworldly or global feel of the elephant ties into the global feel of the tray. You feel me? Type a Y in the chat if you're like, boom, exactly. And then the neutral tone of the brown or the amber, yes, of the diffuser reflects that amber. And then our architectural finial has, again, those colors that tie us into the neutralness, the browns, and it kind of has that global quality to it. Makes you wonder, oh, does she travel a lot, or or does she study any of these areas or do research, etc. But now let's mix this tray up. Let's give it another vibe. Same tray. And because of the sort of the design style that this tray falls in, I'm not going to veer too far off. Like, I'm not going to try to make this tray glam. It just wouldn't work, right? Who's going to make this glam? Probably not. So instead, we're going to take this and go with a globe. So we're going to actually not work against this style of this particular tray. Now, here we are back to our gorgeous, gorgeous magazines. Now, let's talk color for a moment. We have primary and secondary colors, right? We know red. Oh, excuse me. Right. Oh, I'm sorry. I just got the. Anyway, excuse me. So anyway, complementary color of blue is orange. And so this orange on this magazine actually works beautifully with the blue tones on our global or Moroccan style tray. And then we have the neutral base on this globe, which goes back to the neutral woods here sitting on top of the blue, which is a nice framing. Then I'm going to bring in, make sure I'm bringing in my right piece. Oh, here we go. Boom. So now we're going to go with this piece here, and we're going to add our third piece here. Now we could play with this. If you wanted to just sort of be in the middle and split the difference, you could do it this way. That looks pretty funky. And there's a little unexpected in this. This is just a wood little craft, and it has some raffia balls. But I put this green piece in here at the top because we have that exact same green color in the tiles. I don't know if you can see. Let me move some of this stuff. So just to see how intentional things are. So when you look at the tray, if you can see it that close, the green on the tray and the green on this little bauble here are the exact same color. So it was a no-brainer to nestle that there and to put this here. And again, you could split the difference and kind of line these up, marching together. You could put one piece, you could put your globe here in the front. Well, for you, it's the front. For me, it's the front. Or you could pull the globe back here and do your elephant piece here. And again, we have height, the tallest height. These are almost equal, But the reason why it works is because the magazines and the bowl have a bigger mass than the elephant. And so that's what equalizes out how we think of the size of each of our three pieces here. All right, so I've talked quite a bit, showed you some demos. Drop in the comments, what goodness have you gotten so far? You've jotted down a couple of things, and I really appreciate you letting me know. But what other things, what has been awakened in you that perhaps you just hadn't really considered in that way before? And remember, these tips, these principles, these tips and principles are not just for tricking out dope trays. This is for when you begin to envision, I am not going to settle for this bedroom, for example, because that's the room that we have coming up for our join me on the love seat decor feedback. And you're going to use these principles as you look at your room and begin to think of why you want to change a space and how a space needs to be up level, basically. All right. Drop in the chat anything that has occurred to you. You are seeing things differently going forward. Did you enjoy those tray demos? Did you enjoy the demos? That's a lot of work, y'all. Put those demos together. Listen, I literally had to take pictures so that I wouldn't forget what was the demo going to look like, because I had literally, just so many options and so little time. But let me put my favorite back together as you guys think of things that you want to drop in the comments. I just love this so much. And when I posted this on my Instagram, by the way, you can definitely follow me on Instagram. So many people just loved it. They just simply loved it. And you can't blame them, right? It's just dope, right? And it could go into several different spaces. All right, let's see. It was thank you. New tips learned using books or magazines. Also incorporate varying heights. And make sure that the relationship of the colors, the neutrals is what really drives your look. All right, y'all, this segment right here coming up next is Join Me on the Love Seat. All right, so I'm about to give some live feedback. One of my viewers, hold on a second. I done got my notes under my chair. Okay, one of my viewers submitted for the decor coaching. And let's see, I think I have some photos here. Time for the red glasses, y'all, because right? Eyes ain't what they used to be. All right. Okay. All right. And so the question, it says, I wish I could show you guys the room, but I'll just read it out. I'm looking at a master bedroom, and the person says, I started getting basic linens, but need help with the finishing touches for function and joy. I love that. 3 things that bother me: the paper shades on these tall doors and windows, need sheer and blackout curtains, but not sure color or design, cluttered nightstands, fireplace, tabletop, blah, 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 organizing things, focal point above the fireplace. Okay, so she has a couple of things. And she also says the entire room seems incomplete. And she is correct. She is right. The room is lovely. That lovely bottom quilt comforter looks nice. And then that great little, it's a pop of color with that rusty orange. But number one, I didn't see any other storage like a dresser or dressing table or so you're actually suffering from, there's not enough, it appears from the pictures you sent me. And thank you for submitting, right? Love that. It's always great to get real-time feedback. You need more tabletop space to designate spots and locations for things that you don't want in the places that they currently are. Because it looks like, let me see. Yeah, there seems to be a lot of, I believe, electronic equipment of some sort. And so the question is, this perhaps needs to go somewhere else. I don't see a television in the space. Let me see. Did you say there was one? You definitely want an area rug. This is a pretty good sized room. So I don't know the square footage off the top of my head, but if this charcoal or this gray scheme is going to stay as the wall color, then I would say, and this room is very modern because the wall art is color blocked, and so I can tell that this is a modern, the contemporary modern type of a room. Also, the lamps on the side tables are contemporary, for the most part, contemporary modern. They could be transitional, but at any rate, you want to get a rug that probably is anywhere from 13, maybe even 15 feet. I mean, it's going to be a good sized area rug because this is a very large room. And the room is not divided, doesn't have like a seating area. And you want to perhaps do some different bedding because right now the bedding is blending into the wall space. Not unless that's intentional. Not unless the person you want to go with a monochromatic, all one color tone, serene kind of vibe. But it doesn't look like that's your question. You don't want to go that way. So I would recommend different bedding altogether so that you have some contrast between the wall color and the bedding color because it's just blending in. Now, to your question about the doors and windows, colors or designs. So the first thing I would suggest is doing a true color palette for the room. Because the wall is already charcoal and charcoal or gray is a neutral, you can virtually go in any direction. Okay. I'm making this up. Not that you want this color palette. You could even go in the direction of doing a yellow as a pop. Again, that's not the direction you're going, but I'm just pointing out gray is a neutral. Remember, black, white, gray, and brown are neutrals. You can pretty much put most colors with them. There are some different undertones that you might have in a gray, warm or cool, but this is definitely a warm gray. So, or charcoal. So you want to pick the color palette though. And you already have in the room this sort of rusty orange. And I didn't even notice that there's a light yellow in that modern art piece. So you might even start to pull that out and go with 3 different colors that all work together that are going to be the color movement in the room. So then you could either do drapes on the windows. Let me go back to, you could do drapes on the windows. It looks like there's a slider and then a set of picture windows. You could do drapes on the windows and or the sides of the sliders with shears in the middle, or you could do custom Roman shades that are of a soft linen fabric so that there's not a lot of hard edges because this is a bedroom and you might want a softer, cozier, more serene effect. So I wouldn't suggest a wood blind. Those are hard edge, but a softer linen or cotton or other kind of soft fabric that would go in that space. And that way you could block the sunlight. Or you say blackout curtains. That's an option. That is an option. Cluttered nightstands. You just need more hard top spaces and a focal point above the fireplace. So it sounds like that artwork is not going to stay there. The artwork is the fireplace is in a tiny bit of a kind of an awkward spot in the room, but everything is addressable and everything is, quote, we say, if not fixable, you can address everything. Actually, I wouldn't put any art piece like you currently have there. I wouldn't put that in that spot because that's an angled fireplace and there's no true flat wall. So you would either need to find something sculptural to put or a couple of sculptural pieces where you had maybe 2 highs and a low in the middle or 2 lows and a high in the middle to give that visual movement because that is a triangular shaped nook there. There's really no true spot for a piece of artwork. If drop in the chat if that's a thumbs up, if that's making sense for you. But definitely you need more spaces to place things in the room, like dressers or dressing table or something like that. A wall, an area rug. And then above the bed, you could consider soft art like cloth art, or I'm a big fan of fabric art. Matter of fact, that's masterclass number 3, fabric art on canvas, particularly it's over the bed. It's tough to put things in glass or something like that. You might even choose something in metal, but it's very well secured to the wall. Let's see, tall walls, tall walls. But if you get enough going on down there on the bottom half of the room, you're going to balance the tall walls out. Okay, I hope that I've been helpful with what I had in front of me. And thank you so much for taking your seat on the love seat with me tonight. I do want to open up for questions. If you have any other specific questions, and if you're here, my love seat guest, or if you're watching this on the replay, you can definitely type something in the comments section. And again, I always get to your question. And but I do want to just give some time for any question that you might have about a design dilemma in your own home or in your own room, a desire you have, maybe to, I know I was reading on Facebook earlier, a woman had what she called, she used to have matchy matchy. She said, her whole living room set all match, and she sold, like 2 months into the pandemic, she sold all of her what she called matchy matchy furnishings and started from scratch because she wanted a more colorful or more curated or eclectic transitional vibe. And she was sharing her first few steps, and it was just gorgeous. Just gorgeous. Maybe that's you. Maybe you want to shift your styles. Maybe you're like, I used to have, I want more of a glam style. I'm actually working with a client right now to design her home office in New Orleans, and she wants a glam traditional. And so she's really blending a traditional look, remember, like kind of really symmetrical, and glam. Let's see, where else could that exist? Well, in that room, that piece is a little, because the walls are there's a lot of wall mass or a lot of wall space. That piece really needs some partners. There's really nowhere to hang it by itself, and it would make good sense because the walls are so expansive. There's a lot of wall space. So you could partner a piece like that with other art pieces or other decor in a similar color family. Doesn't have to be the same exact art piece because it's art for that matter. And again, I guess in my example, it doesn't have to be matchy matchy. It needs to have a relationship through either scale or pattern or coloring. Coloring is usually first, and you create that relationship so that it works well. So I would suggest to get a couple of, to do your search for a couple of more pieces that you realize, hey, or you think this could work with that piece. Now, you could also get other pieces that are the exact same shape as that piece, that square, and then do a triptych, which just means 3 in a row. Or you could do a quad, and you could put 4 of them together, but they don't all have to be the exact same piece. The size of the piece is what unifies them. Or you could do 2 pieces, one on the top, one on the bottom, and then you could do different types of pieces of art because there's a lot of black or charcoal in the room. You could do black and white photos paired with that kind of piece, and it will work really well together. So thank you very much for that additional question. I'm getting ready to close out. This has been the most fun. Make sure that you share this video. If you're watching the replay, be sure to like the video and hit the like button and subscribe. If you've not subscribed to my channel before, please do so. A lot more good stuff to come. Our next masterclass is on Pillowpalooza. I'm going to be teaching all about using pillows to decorate a couch. And again, we're not doing matchy-matchy here because we're going to use some of those design composition principles to really, really make your space really unique, personalized, and just all the way dope, totally dope. So pillows. And then on the final masterclass, We're going to look at framed art, framed fabric as art, and the hack of how to take a shower curtain and a canvas and make some pretty boss looking art. And at the end of this 2021 Room Makeover Challenge, the goal is that you'll spend about 10 days putting in the hard work and the creativity, and you're using your imagination to transform either a room or maybe even just a corner of your space. That's the goal. You're going to have a team of people to help you out. Thank you so much for joining me. And I hope that you got outstanding value from this video. Be sure you can email me your questions. Email me at heartofthesale@gmail.com. Or if you're already part of my database, just hit reply to any email I send you. Send me your questions, and I'll see you in the next class. Good night, everybody. Thanks so much for joining me.